Maria Guardado joins us now. She covers the San Francisco Giants for MLB.com, or as I like to call them, the best damn team in baseball. Maria, thanks so much for joining me here today. This is my passion project. I normally have to listen to these guys that host the show talking about golf and other things. I wanted to talk about my team today, the San Francisco Giants. Are you tired of answering this question? Hey, are you surprised at how good the Giants are?
Yeah, I mean, I've been getting it pretty often, this year. But yeah, I mean, I think it is surprising. I think entering the season, not a lot of people expected the Giants to kind of be there at the top of the National League West, just considering, the strength of the Padres, the strength of the Dodgers. But, here they are. So I think it's obviously not a fluke. I think they're obviously a really good team. So yeah, I mean, I think this whole division race is going to be really compelling down the stretch. So it should be fun.
Even when the Giants were winning 3 World Series in the last decade, never really a power-hitting team. They had some pop, but not to lead the league in home runs the way they're doing this year. How did they pivot and become this team that consistently puts the ball out of the ballpark?
Yeah, as you mentioned, even as recently as 2 years ago, this offense definitely did not rank kind of in the top 10 when it came to power. But yeah, this year they're up there. I think they kind of go back and forth with the Blue Jays as far as 1 and 2 in the majors. But I think a big part is, one of the things is that they've adopted more of a platoon system. So I think that they can play these matchups a little bit better and kind of put their guys in a position where they can really do damage, if they get a matchup they like and they really train for it. So that's one thing. I think another thing is just I think you have to give some credit to Gabe Kapler's coaching staff. I think that their hitting group has done a pretty good job with helping some of the veterans like Brandon Crawford and Brandon Posey kind of make some adjustments that have kind of allowed them to turn back the clock a bit and kind of, made them into more productive hitters, even though as they've kind of approached their mid-30s, late 30s. So I think that those are kind of 2 factors that are at play here.
I think one of the biggest surprises in a season full of them has just been the emergence of Kevin Gausman. I mean, people here in Mississippi will be familiar with him from his days at LSU, but had not really had a lot of success at the major league level until this year. What's clicked for him in 2021?
Yeah, I mean, Gausman was always a guy who obviously had a lot of really high pedigree. I think he was a first rounder for the Orioles, I believe in 2012, but yeah, I mean, for the beginning of his career, he was just kind of firmly league average. But I think that one of the major adjustments that he made beginning when he was in Cincinnati's bullpen in 2019 was actually just increasing his splitter usage. In the past, he's kind of been, it hadn't really ever topped out about 20%, but, it was really his best pitch. And I think that in the past, other teams have kind of wanted him to incorporate his slider a little bit more along with his fastball, but his slider is really kind of a little bit of a liability for him. So I think that just, getting away from the slider, relying a little bit more on his splitter, I think that's really made a huge difference for him, along with a little bit of a better command in general. So, yeah, he's obviously been a huge piece for the Giants, kind of the leader of a rotation that's been one of the best in baseball. He's hit a little bit of a skid the last 2 starts, and the reason for that is because he just hasn't – his splitter has been a little off. So I think that it'll be really key for him to kind of get that pitch back on track because it's so key to his success.
When you look at this team and some of the injuries they suffered, Brandon Belt's been out for quite a while. Evan Longoria's missed most of the season. Is it a stretch to say that this Giants team hasn't played as well as it possibly could?
I think it's fair to say that there hasn't been a full strength, definitely. That's what's going to be so interesting, kind of leading into the trade deadline, like how the Giants balance some of the, do they go out do they add another bat when they know that they have guys like, as you mentioned, Brandon Crawford, Brandon Belt, Evan Longoria, Tommy La Stella coming back, because they already are going to have a little bit of a roster crunch when those guys start to come back. So if they kind of incorporate a little bit more outside pieces, it's going to get even more there's going to be even more of a crunch. So I think that, yeah, this team has done a pretty good job as far as having kind of a next man up mentality and, having some guys like Lamont Moy Jr. kind of step in and kind of help fill in for some of the injured guys. But I think that they definitely have maybe another year that they can still hit once they're fully healthy.
You sort of hit on my next question there with the trade deadline coming up. Who are some names that the Giants are going to be looking at?
Yeah, I mean, Farhan Zaidi has said that one of his biggest priorities is going to be starting pitching depth. So, obviously the big guy out there right now is Max Scherzer. So, a lot of reports are saying that his top 3 teams are all in the NL West, the Padres, the Dodgers, and the the Giants. And he can obviously kind of control his own destiny just because he has 10-5 rights, so he can kind of veto a trade he doesn't like. So I think that he's probably one of the guys that's going to get a lot of attention and is going to be out there for this. And could be a possible Giants target. But they've also been linked to Danny Duffy of the Royals, who's currently on the injured list, which probably brings down his price tag a little bit. He's someone who could potentially help in August or September. So that's just again them kind of looking at how they can kind of just improve their depth to make sure that they're covered in the event of injuries or underperformance in the second half.
My wife is a big Cubs fan. She was mourning the idea that Chris Bryant might be headed out to the Bay. Is that a realistic option?
I think it could be. I mean, he's definitely someone who would fit this roster very well, just because he's a versatile guy. He can kind of play in a lot of different positions, which is something that the Giants obviously value. But also, it kind of gives them a little bit more flexibility, just in terms of when they have all these guys coming back, they can kind of move Bryant around depending on what they need. And he obviously, he's from the Cubs, who employed Scott Harris in their front office for a long time. So, I think that there's a possibility that could help them maybe strike a deal. Craig Kimbrell is another guy on the Cubs who would fit really well with Giants, just because he's, kind of that lockdown closer that they haven't really had. So yeah, I mean, the Cubs are definitely another team that they could potentially match up well with.
When you're a fan of a team that's not predicted in the start of the season to do well, you always, you spend the whole season waiting for the other shoe to drop when they're winning. And it hasn't happened yet, and it hasn't happened yet with the Giants. So as we get, we're into July, end of July here. We're almost into August and September. Are you going to be covering October baseball? Do you feel like this team can make a deep playoff run?
Well, if you look at the FanGraphs playoff odds, I think it's like, their chances of making the playoffs are like in the 80% range. So at this point, you can't really plan any vacations in October probably. So yeah, I mean, I think it's looking well for them. I mean, they're even if I think obviously their goal is going to be to win a division, but even if they don't, even if they end up, falling out of first place, I think there's a really good shot that they're going to get one of the two wild card spots. So yeah, I mean, they're well positioned. Obviously, there's still a lot of baseball left to play, but I think they're kind of in the driver's seat right now.
Yeah, I really feel like the NL West is going to give you 3 playoff teams with the 2 wild cards being whoever doesn't win this division. I can't let you out of here without asking about the Giants' first-round pick, Will Bednar. Obviously, here in Mississippi, they've been celebrating him in Mississippi State's national championship over the past few weeks. What do the Giants like about him there at the 14th spot that made him the pick?
Yeah, I mean, I think that one of the things that Michael Holmes, the Giants scouting director, kind of talked about was just his competitiveness, which I think really came out in the College World Series. When he was named the most outstanding player, he had a tremendous run there for Mississippi State. So, yeah, I mean, I think they're really excited about just his kind of combination of stuff and polish. He has a fastball slider combination that's looking really good. So yeah, I mean, they really needed kind of, more high outside arms to add to the system, just because a lot of the strength of their farm system was kind of on the position player side. So I think just, the ability to add kind of another really promising arm that could essentially move pretty fast was pretty appealing to them.
How obviously you can't predict the future, but is he a guy that you could see in San Francisco, say 2023, 2024?
Yeah, that sounds about right. I mean, I think with the college arms, 2 years, after they've been drafted, it's kind of a pretty safe bet.
Always great to talk about the San Francisco Giants. I've been looking forward to this interview all day. Thanks so much, Maria. We really appreciate your time. Maria Guardado, she covers the Giants for MLB.com. They're in L.A. tonight. Give them a beat L.A. from me. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Passion projects right there. Bob, I just want to let you know, all day I tried to get a pro wrestling interview. I tried all day. I couldn't.
Really?
I couldn't find anybody. All of my contacts dried up. I tried to get our friend Brandon Walker from Barstool Sports. He high-handed me. He big-timed me. It is what it is.
Oh, my goodness.
But I got that one in there for sure. And we've got a great show coming your way today. We'll talk a lot more about it here in the next segment, set everything up for the rest of the day. But plenty of, for a random Wednesday in July, man, a lot of interesting stuff to talk about. Ed Orgeron had some things to say. We're going to talk about that. We've got some college basketball news in the middle of July. I like that. And, we got some great interviews coming up. We will set everything up for you, set the table for a great Wednesday afternoon. Is that Tony Bennett?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.